asked you if you preached last night, right?
I believe
And without hesitation, got to tell you, without hesitation, yep, I'm ready. Ready to go. And I pulled him aside afterwards. I said, really, I'm not trying to cop out or anything. I was ready to go upstairs, bang things out, but let me share with you what was going on, which is what I'm doing right now. And, you know, everything kind of fits together because his message actually goes with what Pastor Dan was preaching on. And really what it comes down to is this, and this is what I want to share with you today. Guys, you need to be ready. When you're doing stuff, some of you have heard this because I think you may have been in the barn with me on Friday morning. But, you know, when you're doing stuff, you guys have had a lot of fun. I was here earlier today watching you guys out there, you know, tubing and canoeing, your paintballing thing over there on the island and all that stuff, playing football over here. That's great. It's great to have fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
How many of you pay attention to what God has to say to you when you're having fun?
Oh, nobody's raising their hand?
You know, when you're doing things, it doesn't matter what you're doing. You can be having a lot of fun. You can be doing some hard work. And commanders, I'm speaking to you too. Staff,
Amen.
Everybody. When you're doing this stuff, you need to be in that mindset that says, God, what do you have for me? What's our motto?
Ready.
Ready.
Ready for anything.
Ready for anything. You cannot be ready if you're not listening.
That's right.
You need to listen. You need to be aware of what God might have for you at any given time. Because sometimes those things don't even relate. Half an hour later, day later, 2 days later, week later, doesn't really matter. Something will happen. And it'll come together. Like the message that happened to me. And how it all fit into what Pastor Dan, whom I had not talked about in terms of what he was going to speak about, how it all fit together. And not only that, what I was saying, which is what I'm telling you right now, what I was saying to the staff on Friday morning was that very thing. You know, when you're out there working on your events and all this stuff, you know, you got to be listening to what God has to say to you because He will tell you things. He will reveal things to you. How do you know you got a ministry? How do you know what He wants you to do? I'll share with you how I know. God gave me a vision, literal vision. This was 11 years ago now, easily. I was in a service, one of these big video services, stuff that's going across the nation at the same time. We haven't had those in a long time. And I was kind of in my own little world, and He gave me a vision of you guys. Some of you are sitting here today. I know because I've seen you do this. Usually in academy. Some of them are sitting right here. 4 of them. 1, 2, 3, 4. And what He showed me at the time, He said to me, clear as bell, I heard His voice speak to me. Now this seems very odd, but I heard His voice speak to me as clearly as you're listening to me right now. And He said, you're looking at the future leaders of the church. You're looking at revival. I'm not talking about just people who are going to take over what's already there. I'm talking about the next generation of leaders who are going to take the church to the next level. That's you.
Amen. Amen.
You guys sitting right here, and the ones I've worked with for the past 10 years. You're the ones. And I'll tell you why I know it's you too, and not just the ones 10 years ago. And all he said to me was this. He asked me a simple question. Do you want to be part of this? That's all he asked me. You want to be part of it? Now, if I wasn't listening to that, I could have gotten caught up in the vision of the future leaders of the church. I could have been paying attention strictly to what was going on in this big video thing, which quite honestly I had no interest in. You've all sat there and done that sort of thing. And I just listened. And he said to me, he asked me that question, do you want to be part of it? And I said, yes. And he said, this is what you need to do. Every opportunity, I want you to work with young boys, with youth. We call you student ministries now. But I want you to work with them. Well, I was already involved in Royal Rangers, so I kind of took that to heart, number one. Number two, I was in the midst of changing professions. I used to work with computers. I used to program computers. I worked systems analysis. I ran a complete computer facility. I trained people to use networks and stuff. You know, that's a lucrative job. I got paid good money. I put it all aside. Opportunity came along for me to change professions, and I took that opportunity to become a teacher. Why? What was I going to be working with? Youth, students, guys your age. I teach high school. You're all looking at me going, oh no, not one of them. Yeah, well, I do. About 16 months after that, my youth pastor came to me in the church and said, we'd like you guys, my wife and I, to work with the youth of the church. And my wife says, well, you know, we've done that. We've been there, did that. Not really something we want to do right now. Don't feel led that way. I didn't know this conversation went on. And then our kids came to us. Our kids were in the youth group at that time. And they said, look, you know, we really need help. Would you work with the youth group? Well, that kind of changed the picture a little bit. My wife and I talked about it finally, and we went and did it. So I was teaching school, working in Rangers, working in our youth group. Everything I was doing was working with kids. But you know what happened? Y'all grew up.